So, hello everybody. Sorry I can't be there today, but I was able to put together a story map, a preliminary story map of what exactly I'm going to be doing my final research project on this semester, which is Artemisia Gentileschi, one of the greatest and first female Baroque painters. So, the theme I'm going with right now is As It Pleases God, the life of Artemisia Gentileschi, as you can see here. As It Pleases God comes from a letter actually her father wrote to one of his feather artists, to one of the Medici court members. And he talks about how his young daughter, when she was only 14 or 15, As It Pleases God was already doing some, phenomenal work. She has no peer, is what he said. So starting to scroll, we have this beautiful, people say it's a self-portrait that she painted. It's called The Allegory of Painting. I'm going to start right here with my hypothesis/thesis of what I'm going to kind of cover in the rest of the narrative I'm putting together. So really what you need to see here is the narrative of this story map will take the viewer on a journey of this great Italian artist's life and explore the ways in which her work adapted with the changing of her physical location and state in life. Continuing to scroll, we come across this map, and this is how I'm going to implement maps. I do need some direction, however, with finding the right map to use. I am using the Noli map right now. This will not be the map I end up using in the end because it's simply not it's not the correct map. I need one of more of Italy. I was hoping to jump around from Rome to places within Rome, but also then to be able to skip out into Florence and Venice. So this is what we're using for now, though. I'm going to talk about in the beginning, talking about when she was born, who her parents were. I will go into much more detail about kind of the beginnings of her life. Continuing to scroll, there's going to be a longer paragraph here about her father's actually relationship with the man who sexually assaulted her when she was just 17 years old. That situation, that incident led to, influenced a lot of her art later in her life, which we'll come back to. Continuing to scroll, this is the first of Artemisia's paintings that I will cover, is Susanna and the Elders, based off of a biblical story of Susanna being spied on by two elder men. This is many art historians have said that this is reminiscent of her father and her assailant, kind of that male gaze and trying to deflect it. Moving on, soon after the trial of where the man who assaulted her was charged, she was married to a man named Pier Antonio Stiatesi, and they almost immediately moved to Florence to kind of start a new life. And this is where the map would now shift over to Florence, whichever direction that is, and I'm going to talk about that just a little bit. I'm going to go in to her life right after Florence with her husband and 4 children. She did have a lover. I may or may not go into that right here. I definitely will later because it's largely important. Continuing on, I address her social circles and how the social circles that she sort of ran in influenced a lot of her works. Obviously, she was commissioned by wealthy families, most notably the Medici families. She also spent time with painter Allori, Michelangelo's nephew, Michelangelo Buonarroti the younger, and Galileo Galilei, which is pretty interesting, pretty cool. Moving forward, and I don't know why the map it's not, usually this would scroll in and is moving around the map, but it's not working right now, and I don't know what's wrong with that, sorry. But this, again, isn't the map I'm going to be using in the end, so we won't worry about it. Artemisia was the first woman ever to be accepted into the Accademia del Disegno in Italy, and it was Italy's first art academy, and they did not accept another woman for over 50 years after she was finished learning there. So that did play a big role in her art. I'm going to address how kind of her art changed or shifted in her time at the academy. Moving forward, Allori, like I mentioned earlier, was one of the Medici family painters for the Medici court. He played a very large influence, likely, on Artemisia's depiction of Judith slaying Hermophilus. So here is Allori's vision of the situation, and if I wish you could see, this is something else I want to work on, is you can't see Holofernes' head right here, and you should be able to because it's just too far down there. But over top of that, I have Artemisia's Judith painting, which is likely one of the most famous ones she has. Continuing to scroll, this is a larger version of that same picture we saw up here. And I'm going to go into exactly, I also said right here, I wish you could see more of the painting, so I don't know how to, maybe somebody can give suggestions for that if they figured it out. Right here, I'm going to go deep into this painting. It's one of the most written about of her works. I could almost do an entire final project on this piece. It's really deep, it's really raw, it's really it's painful, I think, and I think we can see that just in her work and in the painting, which is pretty phenomenal. It's a depiction of power or powerlessness of women, the violence committed against her, and several political messages throughout several of her works, not just this one. Many Baroque artists addressed the biblical depiction of Judith slaying Holofernes. Donatello was one of them, Botticelli, Mantegna, Caravaggio. Anger and aggression and everything that comes with that are some major themes. And then, interestingly enough, Artemisia has a lot of letters, which is why we know a lot of what we know about her. This is a very poor quality scan of one of them. I had a very difficult time finding anything better than this. I'm hoping to talk to the rare books collection at Rubenstein and hopefully find some better ones. But we learn a lot from her letters. Her signature is right here, Artemisia Lomi, which is never in American works. The name Lomi never occurs that write about her, but in a lot of Italian language writings about Artemisia, her middle/last name exists here. And then I'm going to talk here about letters, what we learn from the letters. She had a very hectic life. She was a bit of a mess, as I say here. She really didn't fit into any of the social circles that she was a part of technically, had several debts, couldn't finish paintings on times, and just in general, a lot of gossip surrounding her and her family because of her, illicit relationship with the man outside of her marriage, Marinki, or help with my pronunciation. So we learn a lot from those letters, and I'm going to dive way deeper into the letters also and how they help us understand her art. And then I just kind of ended here. I'm going to, like I said throughout, go a lot deeper into most of what you saw. This today was just a very brief outline of what we're going to see for the final project, but from the research I'm doing, I'm very excited to keep going. So if anybody has any suggestions, I think my two biggest things are, one, being able to fit more of the picture into the screen, and then also right here, this isn't a good example. Right here, for example, is there a way to make this white box solid? I don't want it to be see-through. And I thought I saw that on someone else's story map, but I might have been wrong. It might have been a white background I saw it on, so it looked white. It looked like solid white, but I would just like to know if that's possible at all. And then just any organizational questions, or should I focus more on one thing, less on, should I do less on something else? Just, send me an email or just write it down. And I appreciate you listening. I hope you have a good rest of your class and rest of your Thursday.